Everyone. Good morning. And it is an honor to address you today about the evolving landscape of oil spill response. Today, I'm going to talk to you about our experience in the field in the recent years, representative of how things evolved in times. I'm the CEO of OSRL. This company has nearly 40 years of experience in preserving environment and the industry reputations. We respond to many spills and we see the interchanging environment right now. Tackling persistent oil risks require dedications, collaborations, and adaptive strategies as those risks increases. So let's see the first test. Fabulous, it works. Oil spill management challenge our response capability in evolving situations that have emerged in recent years. Let me talk to you about let's take it in steps. Let me talk around what are the complex evolving scenarios we keep seeing in recent spill environment. Exploring remote fields have been the cornerstones of industry, and particularly oil and gas industry, for decades, often in regions with minimal infrastructure and a lot of challenges from a regulatory point of view. For example, the new basins have a steep learning curve to tackle spills and to prepare. And there is a lot of appetite to learn from more established regions. Second point we keep observing is the energy transition presents unique challenges that require proactive collaboration and preparedness. In recent years, for example, probably last year, not long ago, OSRL has been very much involved with the Global Center of Maritime Decarbonization in Singapore for a study on ammonia bunkering. Interesting to note how collaborating across different agencies shape the way forward in understanding these problems. Third aspect we keep seeing more and more is that we observe a number of smaller spills much more often now. In the past, we were more mobilized for larger spills. Currently, we see smaller spills more often. Another important aspect I'd like to discuss with you is the stakeholder expectations and how these scenarios evolved all the time. First of all, let us remember that transparency and open communications are an imperative in building public trust when there is an accident. I've been involved in Macondo incident, and I cannot reiterate how important is open and clear communications. This is something I know firsthand, being on the other side of the fence, so to speak. Media coverage and public perception can significantly impact the response of oil spills. Managing stakeholder and public expectation is critical, especially under the influence of both traditional and citizen journalists. They call it that citizen journalists, the new trends about people going on iPhone, as was just mentioned by Mark, and knowing and publishing everything that come to mind. And that is a trend we'll see more and more often. Recent oil spill in the Philippines and UK highlighted another things that is particularly telling, like the disparity in media attention despite different size of oil spill. An oil spill occurring in Europe or UK or North America has a completely different connotation of an oil spill occurring in other parts of the world, not because people are less interested, but because the coverage of media is completely different. In addition, social media and citizen journalists amplify the response and perception of incident. As we said, people are very much connected now to social media, and information is very, very much prominent in our response of spills. So misunderstanding how to manage an oil spill can also lead to distrust, fear, impatience, and confusion among those affected. Over-responding to oil spills have a detrimental environmental impact, and managing expectation for mitigate these spills is of increasing importance. Finally, I leave this another message. Oil spill often become very political. We know that for the past and is on upcoming trends. And this distract from effective response effort and harm the environment and the community that more need help. So let's now move to capabilities, another trend that we can see and observe in recent years. Managing depth and high experience level among the response personnel is a key challenge in the oil and gas industry. Shipping industry, I guess, is the same. Maritime industry is very similar as well. The industry has faced a shortage of talent for many years. So what I tell you now is not new to you. And it is exacerbated by the negative perception driven by climate change activists. It's not cool, so to speak, to work for the oil and gas industry or for similar industry nowadays, as it was in my days when I started these careers. Talented individuals are increasingly seeking opportunity in the digital and renewable energy sectors, a trend that we've never seen before. It's also something very regional, while here it's very marked effect. In other parts of the world, like Middle East and South America, the trends are quite different, but it is important to share this concern. Investment in skill development and modernizing the response strategy are essential to retain talent and uphold industry standards. However, the investment are often diverted to other projects. The growth generating project of our oil and gas industry, increasing the risk of oil spills and their impact due to the loss of experienced personnel. Integrated new technologies like autonomous vehicle and artificial intelligence is crucial to the industry future. It attracts talent and capability into a much needed sector. Let's now talk a little bit around assurance and how the evolving landscape is affecting that particular part of the business. Managing oil spill involve preventive measures, preparatory actions, and swift responses. Regulations, safety standard, and detailed inspection form the foundation of operational capability. Comprehensive training program, risk assessment, and contingency plans are essential to the success. Political complexities and issues like nationalization and local content can hinder decision-making and erode public trust. We see recently a lot of effect of inverse globalization, where actually it's much more difficult to deploy people and assets in response sites. Determining authentic information is becoming increasingly difficult. The artificial intelligence generated content complicated the truth of an incident, and it's extremely difficult to unravel all these narratives. The industry must prioritize planning, training, and clear communication to navigate this challenge effectively. However, there is a very big opportunity within these challenges, especially in adapting to an ever-changing industry landscapes. Collaboration and arrangement help unify stakeholders by surpassing boundaries and sharing resources and expertise. Examples of effective collaborations are in place in Australia, the Pacific, US, And the UK, for example, there are a number of mutual aid framework that we OSRL put in place to help different communities to collaborate each other. And these bring together joint venture, industry, and scientific communities and experts. Effective collaboration are supported by both industry and specialist organization. And this is particularly important because we see more and more a pull from the industry, which is great. However, I like to remember all of us that having such agreement in place is just the start. To make them effective require an ongoing effort to test how effectively any arrangement would work in the event of an oil spill. And it's not a trivial task. When we have time, what we define in peacetime, we develop all the framework. Sometimes when a spill occurs, it's even difficult to get all authorities and every other organization aligned. So at least the first step is in place, but there is more to do. Another particular trend that we can see, it is how we respond to incidents that have not only oil spill, not only the spill component, but have additional elements. Oil spill combined with natural disaster and conflict become very, very complex. Take, for example, the 2019 incident that occurred in the Bahamas associated with the Hurricane Dorian. With this Category 5 hurricane caused an oil spill that needed an international response due to both environmental and humanitarian impact. It was very, very difficult, challenging, and affect a lot of people because of safety concerns as well, other than environmental spills. Prioritize life and human relief effort while managing an oil spill poses significant challenges. And with a lot of conflict in the world, this is as well up and coming and prominent problems. Effective management of such incidents require meticulous coordinations to avoid competition for limited resources. The dynamics interplaying between environmental, humanitarian, and geopolitical factors add to the complexity to a response that is already difficult. So let's draw us to public conclusions. And let's think about how, as a sector, as an industry, we can evolve. Building a collaborative and transformed industry is our ultimate aspirations. The journey involves a similar approach to energy transitions, different things, but very similar in the way we approach it. Building a transformative industry required collaborative and partnership among government, oil company, or research institution, environmental organization, and most and foremost, local community. Working with local community is an imperative. The sector needs to embrace energy transitions and cleaner energy sources. We all know about that. But as we respond, is important to our shareholder too. Collaboration facilitates efficiency and signifies readiness to adapt and involve a rapidly changing world. Let me give you maybe two reflections. The ability to address challenges and embrace innovations and adaptability will define our legacy as an industry. The way we respond that will tell communities and our shareholders too how we stand up as an industry. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy to take any question if you have.
Any questions? Come on, there must be a question sat out there. Lauren.
Sorry, this is just for clarification because I zoned out just at the wrong time. I'm so sorry. But you said something about machine learning and there was something about it being a bit negative. Could you please repeat yourself? And I'm so sorry.
Machine learning,
Yeah, you said something about.
artificial intelligence.
Yes,
So the challenges we find is by the way is not negative, but when there is a spill, there is a tendency of the public, this community, to go in social media and create narratives about what happened without having the formal information coming from the source, and this blurred the perception of the public. I'm not inferring that there is a problem in adopting artificial intelligence. We do as well,
yeah.
but it's more about the communications, the press release. Sometimes the narrative is generated by artificial intelligence without scrutiny. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yes, thank you.
It is like you and I have an health issue, go to the GP, and immediately after going out from the doctor, you are on WhatsApp with friends, say, I have that, and everyone try to Google what is the best solution. It's not really the most scientific way to do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if I may, so it's great to hear you talk about a collaborative approach. Do you see events like this as key to driving this industry for this type of collaboration?
Events like this today are fundamental to get everyone connected. OSRL, for example, is part of several network and associations that bring different similar organizations, similar observations, bring along as well regulators. I give you two examples. We are very much interconnected with GRN, the Global Response Network, that facilitated all companies similar to us to understand what are the themes in the landscape of oil spill response, to join resources. We create a lot of mutual aid framework and memorandum of understanding in order to create, join and align visions and the strategies and more practical response, rather than do it on, we'll do it in peacetime rather than do it when there is an incident. The second aspect is there is a similar networks across government regulators that kind of interconnect a lot of similar groups, part of marine spills response and government agencies that work on these scenarios in order to have regulations that are broadly similar or have the same kind of spirits. But yes, activities and events like this are fundamental.
Robert, did you have a question?
Yeah, so curiously, OSLR, do you see your ability to influence at a global level? Obviously, every waterway is connected in one way or the other. It's one ocean, as many as we call it, 7 seas. The influence that you have to change regulations, guidelines, etc. Do you see that coming from these collaborations?
Absolutely.
And
Sure.
how quickly can you influence that change? Because obviously, I'm going to make a statement, and that is the world's oceans are calling out for help.
Yeah.
And if not now, when? And if not you, then who?
Very good questions. Definitely, we are very connected with the major players. Recently, I have been to Washington to work with API, and other marine groups and lobbies, agency parties, although we don't, we are not a US companies. We represent our industry across the whole globes, and we keep a lot of connections with that stakeholder to make sure we progress swiftly. In terms of speed of influencing, it's a two-part things, as you know. We when we talk about we, it's not particularly OSRL, the kind of the OSRL and the different OSRO. We do a lot to lobbies and to inform the government and the regulators. They need to be as well two-way conversations, of course.
If I could follow up, because it's fair to say the use of things like dispersants
Mhm.
and other solutions that are currently in play, they're regulated because that's what the standard is. So when things that come along are better, how quickly can someone like OSLR start to influence policy and application of the remediation of spills, whether they happen at sea, in port, or in rivers, on land, or wherever? If we've got vested interests who their whole business relies on the status quo, we fix the problems the way they're fixed. I think Mark and I had a conversation that went along the line. He's very fluent in French, from memory, that some of the things that we do today don't work. And the challenge that we've got is as we move to these new fuels, that the absorbents and the dispersants and everything else that is existing today doesn't capture or pick up any of the new fuels. When the dispersants are used, they're put into the vertical column or the diagonal column of the water. The fingers are crossed and the hope is there that the weather conditions will keep that dispersed oil at the bottom of the sea. But we know that as soon as the monsoons hit people like India, the monsoons, the turbidity of the water pushes all of those oils up onto the beach, and no one can be responsible for them because they can't be identified. So you get a situation where, as long as you can disperse it from the surface of the ocean, and it goes away for today, cross fingers and hope that when it does reappear, that your name will catch it, because then you're responsible for the long tail.
So is your question how frequent, how is our connections to regulatory bodies to address these situations?
Yes, so how quickly can the influence of change for those sort of regulations?
Did it
What's working to that, what is used today is not working.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. And what is sustainable is not scalable. So how do we change?
What we do, for example, we work with IPCA, IOGPs that actually work with the companies that produce these oils and so on to really understand what is getting through, because we respond to a spill and definitely will influence the different upcoming product, dispersant you mentioned, and so on and so forth. But we need to know the spills, the substance being released first. So we'll work quite a lot with the industry in order to understand that, because as you pointed out, there are different products, different components, different responses that have occurred. So we'll work with a number of agencies in order to solve the situation. We work as well with research to solve the situations.
And purely market, as a vested interest silver sponsor of this event, so SOR or SOAR, the question is, how open is the industry, how open is other bodies to new and revolutionary changes to how we respond to the answers that we've seen?
Yeah, I think the point, and I'd like to thank SOR, they've come from Australia. So there's Robert, do you want to put your hand up? Next to him is Professor Banati. He's come from Italy, but he's working with SOAR. And you,
Lewis.
And Lewis, and we've got Lewis there. So do actually catch up with them. And do catch up with them. They're a silver sponsor of the event. In terms, the point that you're making is, I think a lot of people have are making quite rightly a lot of noise about the environment and the change which is occurring in the environment. And when the UN set out their sustainability goals, the attempt was, by following those goals, we would reduce greenhouse emissions. We would help to give our environment the chance that it needs to survive, because upon that we all rely. Now, what is happening is that in some areas, change is happening more quickly than perhaps we had expected. And I think under the IMO's particular area of responsibility, which is really embedded within what everybody in this room is affected by, that we have seen quite a significant reduction in emissions, roughly 20%, and the goal is to get to 30% by 2030. And that actually might happen because it isn't the regulators who force that, it's the stakeholders within the businesses who operate the vessels who've driven on and forced that change through, which is why we've had, and there is a real thirst for innovation amongst different stakeholders, not encouraged by these sustainable goals and the IMO's plan for to decarbonize the maritime sector by 2050. That has been adopted as a goal, and everyone is working toward it. Now, there are consequences of that in that we're getting innovative new fuels which are arriving, and which, in a sense, are arriving quicker than the industry had expected, which is why we'll be having the session this afternoon to start discussing that. But there's conversations going on like that, like the one we're having, in lots of different parts of the world, and that's to be encouraged. There is no doubt that we are in a climate crisis, and what horrifies me in this country is that the climate hasn't been mentioned in all the our election campaign yet, and no doubt it will barely be mentioned in the French elections, which are now forthcoming. But publicly, there is a huge energy in addressing the issues which are necessary to address climate change. What has to happen, and this is probably something which, when you were with API, the API is also driving for change, but some of that change is contingent on government regulation changing, and government takes a long time to react. And so where we are at is that I think industry is changing generically, industry is changing faster than regulation. And now that means that we have to get governments to catch up. Whether they will catch up or not, perhaps, I think they will catch up because of the pressure of the voter will make them catch up. So hopefully that's a long-winded way of trying to answer your question. Any other questions? No problems. Vania, thank you very much. Thank you.